Okay. I was going to show a picture from my phone of a street scene, kind of like the one that Mike's sitting in, only of fireworks, but my stupid phone is taking forever to upload it. So, oh, Kirk's here. And do you think there's any interest in doing a portraiture educational shoot at Greg's studio?
Yeah, I think we had talked about doing that kind of a little later in the year if he's open to that.
Okay, I think when it's cooler, maybe. Mike had thought maybe we should be doing it not on a Thursday night, but maybe on a weekend. That will probably present problems with Greg.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but I mean, I think he's thinking about how far it is for him to travel to the studio, right?
Yeah.
Well, did you see the email about our meeting at Kensington on
Yes, next week.
Thursday? Yeah. I mean, I just, while we've got sort of light evenings, I think that was the thinking that we would do. We would do that, and then once the evenings draw in, it would be nice to do the studio. I would definitely be interested in that.
Well, maybe it'll be a small crowd. One of the things I told Greg was that maybe we could cover some of the basic rules of proper studio shoots, portraiture shoots.
I was just looking, he posted some pictures today of black and white film that he'd done in Detroit.
Yeah.
Did you see those? But they were cool.
Yeah, I shot with him yesterday at Greenfield Village. We had a engagement session.
All right.
Okay, do you think we got about everybody?
I do. What about Maurice? Where's Maurice these days? He hasn't been around.
Boy, I haven't seen him in a long time on this. Lou, you're out in the woods. I can't hear you, Lou. Still can't hear you. Nope. No sound. Can't hear you, man. Oh, he popped off, so he'll maybe come back in. We are recording. Kirk, did you want to discuss the event that you sent me the mail on?
Yeah, was that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I sent about a dozen images. I think most of you know that I do some photography with the dance department at the University of Michigan. And one of the dancers that graduated a few years ago, she was doing an event in response to the Supreme Court decisions, on abortion. And it was called Our Body, Performance as Protest. So it gave me an opportunity to drive up to Lansing and do a combination of dance photography, photojournalism, and street. So, I thought that was relevant. I hope that subject does not offend anybody here. I do not intend that as a photography group. I do it strictly from a sort of, artistic photojournalistic perspective here. Yeah, I tried to, give you a little variety of a few types of images. My opening image was a montage that I call Shattered, because
Did you send those images to me?
did I send those images to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Didn't you get the file with the,
Well, I may have overlooked it. I'm looking for it now.
there should be a file there. Sorry.
Oh, here we go. Let's see.
Yeah, there should be like about 12, maybe 13 images.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Our body protest. All right. Let me
Yeah,
see.
so and it was really quite, I didn't know what to expect at all. And my wife was like, "Oh my God, don't get shot at something like this." But it was very peaceful. It was very nice, very well done. And what it was, women, there were women's voices that told their story, and it covered sort of it covered the range of experiences for women. And then after each little segment, they did a dance performance that kind of represented that.
Okay.
And then there were people. It was interesting to me, my own observation while I was shooting, and I had free latitude where to go. So you'll see photographs from different perspectives.
Let me try sharing the screen to show your pictures.
Okay, sure.
Can you guys see these?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that first one, that was a montage that I created. I wanted to express my interpretation of the event. And so this was 3 images that I used the layer mode of difference, which I almost never use. And, it created this shattered effect of the women. And so I call the image Shattered. And it was an expression of, what this decision did to a lot of women. And the central figure, she's standing there strong, on her 2 feet and recollecting herself. And the overriding thing that I saw in the women, at this event was grit. There was a determination there. In young women, I saw fear. In older women, I saw anger and frustration. But overall, the takeaway was I saw determination. So I tried to, use a combination of different photographic techniques to express what I saw.
So here's another one.
This is Chloe Gonzalez. She graduated from the University of Michigan a few years ago. And, she was the principal of this. She organized the event. She lives in Lansing. And I had to put the state capitol there with the flag at half-mast because, gosh, it almost seems to me in this, time in history, I see our flag at half-mast more than I see it at full rise.
Yeah. I see it every time. So
And I must reiterate, I do not want to offend anybody. I respect different perspectives on this very delicate issue. Let me make that clear. This is not me.
I will say, as the only female here, I don't know whether you're like directing that at me, Kurt, but I am not offended. So I will throw that out there.
Well, there are conservatives and liberals, in both numbers. And so I want to leave it at a photographic, artistic, journalistic perspective for this discussion. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Okay.
Is this the same lady?
Yes, this is Chloe. I have quite a few pictures of her, but at one of the issues that came up in the discussions for women there were a lot of shame issues, and shame from family, shame from church. And I found it photographically interesting that, the state capitol has all these churches surrounding it. So a couple of the images you'll see kind of contrast, the individual with a church setting in the background.
Okay. So this is an organized dance group.
Yes, there were a variety of different dance groups there that were kind of coordinated with Chloe. There were different styles that were represented. The gal in the upper sort of left in front of the green, it was the telling of her story primarily. This was early on, and the crowd did fill in over the course of the event.
Okay. That's an interesting shot.
Yeah, I took this was a presentation that was dealing with shame from her church culture and from her family. This one really affected me. And the irony there in that picture is, I couldn't create enough separation. I really wanted the church rose window and the dancers, there. But the irony is there's the gun.
Yeah.
And, there, surrounding the state capitol were, these cannons, with flowers and beautifully displayed. And, this is sort of, this was one of the, I hesitated to put too many images from the protesters that related the women's rights issue to the gun issue.
Right.
Yeah. When I do dance photography, I usually try to avoid what I call crotch shots, but it seemed appropriate in this abortion-related situation. And as I mentioned, here we are at the Capitol steps. I often shoot from laying on my belly on the ground. And, there was this, there's these gardens that surround the entrance. And so I tried to depict the solidarity of women and the strength that they have and the determination. And, my own bias is, probably pretty apparent here. But, the flowers of our world bring so much. The beauty of our world brings so much. And there is strength to be found there. And it really gave me a lot of hope as far as women as leaders in this world. Social justice is a huge issue in our culture. And this gal, I said to her, hey, bring you and your black girl hat over here so I can get a picture of you with the Capitol and the books. And she was like totally cool about that. She kind of laughed because she sort of got it, because of her hat. The literature that, she has like a website and that you see there. And, the women afterwards were quite diverse, young, old, sophisticated, not sophisticated, that were, really checking out her literature pretty closely after this.
There's an example.
Yeah, there's an example. And I try to contrast here between, what I saw among the young women and then the older women. Oh, this was another one. This was, I think this was a very interesting gal. And she's a hell of a good photographer. I looked at her Instagram site. She does all film photography. And it's rather uniquely presented on her Instagram. But this was sort of one of the more common issues that were portrayed at this event.
Hmm.
And she was very cool aesthetically, and I told her that, and she was very happy to sort of pose with her dog. And I tried to make her kind of the subject, there with her protest sign in the background. And I didn't quite get the dog the way I really wanted it, but she was very cool and very accommodating.
She's got a lot of money wrapped up in ink.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she was very interesting visually. And here, I mean, among the older women, man, they were pissed. I could see these were the militants. And this woman apparently leads a lot of social activism. I think I close with this image. I'll let it speak for itself.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, given her position on. Okay.
Well, I have to thank you for letting me show this.
You're excellent.
Yeah, it's right on target for the theme.
Okay, good.
And at least there was no fire bombs or anything else going on. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day,
My wife was relieved.
I mean, the court basically said it's a state issue and these people are doing their thing at the state level.
Yeah, exactly. But, it was I thought, I decided to present this, to the group because, issue aside, I thought it was pertinent to the group as a combination really of things that I love to do. I love to do events. I love people. I have a leaning towards social justice. I mean, I have more than a leaning towards social justice. And obviously I love photography.
Well, that's good.
I think you did a good job, Kurt, of
Yes.
representing
Excellent.
the event that day.
Thank you.
Along that same line, I'd like to mention something. I told Bob I watched a movie last week that was very moving, very strong movie. It was called Minamata, Minamata, and Johnny Depp is the star, and he portrays Eugene Smith, who was the great life photographer from back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And he is commissioned to go off to Japan to a fishing village where all these people are dying from mercury poisoning and getting disfigured. And he spends 3 years over there. And it is just a remarkable movie and a remarkable story. If you don't know who Eugene Smith is, you should spend some time and study his work. He's one of the great documentary journalistic photographers of the 20th century. And this movie is very, very powerful. I remember when the article first came out, I think it was in 72 in Life magazine, and I saw the images. It was just so striking and powerful. And they are able to convey that whole feeling throughout the movie, especially at the ending when you see some of the powerful pictures that he comes back with. He was beaten so badly by the security guards and the Japanese guards at the factory when he was part of the protest that he was nearly killed, and his injuries ultimately resulted in him dying a few years later. But if you get a chance, I think it's not been released because of his court case to the general theaters. But if you have Hulu or Canopy, you should be able to get it. And if you want a story about photography, this is the one to watch. It's unlike anything Johnny Depp has ever done before. If you take a look at pictures of Eugene Smith and then you look at the way he's portrayed in the movie, they look identical. And they did such a great job with it.
Wow, thanks, Gary. That really intrigues me. Years ago, I was a dentist by trade, and I had a couple experiences, late in my career. One was when I went to the war photography exhibit in Washington, D.C. I saw that it was there and I had to fly in just to see it. And it left me utterly shaking. I realized that was probably one of my callings. And probably good that I didn't do it, because I probably still wouldn't be alive, because I feel so invulnerable when I'm behind a camera. I think the photographers here realize that. I mean, when I'm rock climbing, I'm really safe, but when I get my camera, I'll practically walk off a cliff. So there is that danger zone. Anyway, thank you.
Yep, cool. Gary, you want to get into?
Minamata, Minimata.
Minamata,
Minamata. Okay.
Minamata. It's
Okay.
a 2020 film, but it's just been released. And it says Hulu.
Mhm.
And I know it's also on Canopy. If you don't know what Canopy is, it's tied into your library account. And all you need to do is download the app, put in your information from your library card, and you get like 4 or 5 movies a month that you can watch. Some pretty decent
Excellent.
stuff.
Wow, that's 2 good things right there to know about. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Bob, you want me to take this screen here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Did I stop sharing it? I think I did.
Okay. Oh, there's I always look for photographers and photography stories, and I hang out on YouTube a lot. But this one, we have to go through these commercials now. Let me see if I can get this off here real quick.
Possible to publish a photography book with only blurry photos?
Okay, this is a story of a photographer from Yugoslavia, and her name, let's see, where is it hidden here somewhere? I guess we'll have to go through the, just a second here, let's see.
This is the work of Croatian photographer Olga Karlovac.
Okay, there it is. And she does motion blur photography. And it is so remarkable to see the work that she does. And there's 2 small towns, one where she lives, one now where she was born, and the other where she works. And she just goes out and just takes these beautiful images. And the person making the video here describes her technique. And the whole video is only a little more than 10 minutes. I'm not going to show it, but this is the information. If you can see it here, it's under imitative photography. Female street photographer only takes blurry photos. And I was so impressed with her work. It is
Can you fire that up full screen and let us see a few of the images?
sure.
Unique style. In the world of photography, sharpness is overrated. Olga Karlovac is living proof that you don't need the sharpest image to become a published photographer with your own gallery space. Originally born in Dubrovnik, Karlovac is an economist by training. She became more involved with photography later in life as a way of stress relief. She shoots only in black and white and only blurry photos. Virtually all of her photographs depict the 2 cities of Dubrovnik and Zagreb, where she was born and where she currently lives, respectively. She is a self-taught photographer and mainly uses point-and-shoot cameras, specifically the Ricoh GR and GR2. Karlovac self-published her first book, Before Winter, in 2017. This was followed by The Disarray in 2019 and Escape in 2021, completing the trilogy. Each of these books represents a specific period in her life. She's very active on social media, and it's through her online posts that she was able to secure her first exhibitions. Karlovac prefers black and white because, in her words, it gives more strength and essence. Her photos are strong in contrast and grain, with broad strokes reminiscent of an impressionist painter. Her subjects are usually dark figures wandering through city streets. like lost memories. With time, your memories blur. You may forget the fine details, but you remember the broad strokes.
Okay, I'm
Gary, do you know how she's achieving this?
and what he discovered. Yes, he explains it in the video that, he'll talk for about 3-4 minutes about her work, and then he goes into a step-by-step process, how to accomplish this and to get it done. So it's a really good, lots of information in 10 minutes, and it's some remarkable work. So that got me off on a thing this month about, there's two kinds of photography like this. One is called intentional camera blur, which is a ICB, or an intentional camera movement, ICM, that you'll see a lot on the internet. And the other is doing it in Photoshop with a mixture of doing blurs. I mean, Tom will probably tell us how all the different options that you have for doing that with path blur and motion blur and things like that. But the combination of doing those two, she basically does this all in camera. And this guy's able to analyze her work and give you some pretty good direction as to if you want to try this, what kind of settings to use and backgrounds and things like that. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I will leave that and bridge. We got yours first, so some impressive photography.
Some of these you may have already seen. I've entered in our club competition, but I've been working a lot with black and white photography over the last couple of weeks, and these are all from my trip to Italy in May of this year. This one here is St. Peter's Basilica, and I converted it to black and white, and then I inverted it to get the negative look to this image.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, as I told you, Robert, that I thought that one jumped off the screen at the meeting, and I'm just dying to try the technique now.
Okay, good. This is one I entered in a competition a couple months ago, but in color. And I think it looks a lot better in black and white.
Yeah.
And one of the techniques I've been trying lately is the gradient map within Photoshop, and it gives you a more contrasty look to the photo. The blacks are darker and the whites kind of pop out at you with that technique. And this is at the Vatican Museum, one of the stairways they have within the museum. I just converted this to black and white using the gradient map.
Well,
The way the light comes in and bounces off of these floor tiles are just
Beautiful.
beautiful.
yeah, I love that texture of the concrete or stone along that bottom.
Yeah, thank you. This is also done with the gradient map for black and white. And I put this in here because of the next photo.
How
This
did you get
photo
that
is
shot
taken-
without people?
There are some people, I waited a while for them to clear the
whole-
stairway there.
Every time I've been there, it's been a zoo.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too bad in May when we went. It wasn't super crowded there. But this is from the top of the stairway.
Yeah,
The next photo is taken from the bottom looking up.
that's beautiful.
And that's the dome to the outside of the building there. And this is also done with the gradient map. And once you do that, you still have control over the blacks and whites and highlights and shadows to work with your image.
I guess I'm not familiar with the gradient map, how to use that.
It's within Photoshop. Let's see here.
Adjustment layers.
At the bottom of the layer panel, there's the adjustment, what's it called? Adjustment layer. It's a circle that's black and white. A black and white circle. You click on that, and from the very bottom, it says gradient map. You click on that, and it turns your photo into black and white. You need to make sure that your foreground is black and the background is white on that color palette.
Before you go to it?
You can change it. I think you can change it after, if you have a different color there for the foreground or background.
So you want foreground black and background light.
Yes, right.
50% gray in the middle. Your two
That's
sliders.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. You can adjust the tone from black to white.
I have a question on that. One of the things that I noticed at our, my first meeting in person with that really kind of took my breath away is how wonderful so many of the blacks were. And that's a problem that I tend to have, that it seems like in my black and white, my blacks just, don't have that, that effect. And Robert, do you think that, that gradient map in Photoshop does that? Or, I played around with like Silver Effects Pro and in Nik software. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think using this method, you get more of a contrasty look to your image. But you still can, adjust your shadows to bring out detail in that. I think it's a good starting point.
So do you think it's like luminosity masks?
I'm not familiar with luminosity masking.
Because that's kind of what I've tried to use. I think I've never used the gradient map, so that's kind of a new thing to me. But it seems like it has a similar effect where you can darken the darks or any tone you can brighten or darken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's another way of having more control.
Yeah. Do you think luminosity mask works better for middle grade, middle tones? Because you get that progression better with that versus the, just the really striking blacks.
I don't know. I'm only familiar with the when I say I'm familiar, I'm mildly familiar
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
with Greg Benz's luminosity, whatever, I forget even what it's called. That's how recent it is I've used it.
Yeah.
I know there are different ones, the TK, whatever.
Yeah, I've got the TK. My recollection, and I'm not an expert in luminosity masks, but basically you can select any tone and then work on that tone. You're not selecting the whole image, you're not selecting a color,
Yeah.
but you're selecting a luminosity level, and then you can apply your edits to that. And you can make it very narrowly defined if you need to.
Yeah. A guy that I think is a real expert in that realm is JP Caponegro. His father was a very famous photographer, and he's a heck of a fine photographer. He does a lot of very interesting stuff. He's in the Smithsonian, but you may want to look him up, JP Caponegro. He does do a newsletter that's not too often to be obnoxious, but he's got absolutely a wealth of information on his website.
Yeah, Tony Kuiper is another one, Kyper. He's got a whole series on this. He's probably in his 7th or 8th generation, and he works with Greg Benz some. or as far as video training, but there's a lot of free stuff out there. And even to purchase the package is not that expensive.
Lumenzia is the one Greg
Lumens-
mentioned.
Yeah, Lumencia is the other one, yeah.
Okay, this one I put into competition a couple months ago also. And this one, I didn't use the gradient map. I just went into Camera Raw and, you know, clicked on the black and white,
Go
and
on,
then,
go on, guys. Go in there, go on.
and then I adjusted the individual colors to come up with this black and white photo. And this was taken about an hour after sunset that one evening.
Hmm.
And
How was
this is
that
in,
color? That's blue hour.
the color photo is I think just as striking as this one here. I like them both.
Okay, I gotta find out why there we go. Almost got locked up there.
Yeah. And this one was taken in Florence. That's I think it's Arno River. And it flows through these bridges, and they have a lot of retail outlets and, you know, living areas on the bridge itself where, you know, people have their homes there. And this was another evening shot. And this is taken at a museum in Trevoli, Italy. And I used the gradient map to convert this to black and white also. It's a stairway.
Excellent work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go back. Mike, are you there? No?
Yep. I was at the in Arlington in 2017, and there was a person who owns a restaurant up north that is he based the whole restaurant around military. So I wanted to print this off and give it to him, but I realized that when I was going to print it, the camera, even though it was a 24 megapixel, when I zoomed in on it, the resolution just completely fell apart. And I completely had this picture in mind. So I changed it to the one with an oil painting. I thought it turned out pretty good. It's actually it's a few pictures after this one here. I do use the same technique on the car here. I took the picture of the car at the Grand Prix and I liked it, but I thought about it hanging in someone's office, my brother-in-law, and I didn't picture him having a glossy picture hanging up on the wall, and I thought doing an oil painting effect on the picture and going through and cleaning up a lot of stuff on the car, taking some of the grid off of it, some of the logos on there that just didn't quite work out very well. I thought I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's nice. Was that within Photoshop, the oil paint? Or-
No, I looked for a long time. I was trying to buy something. Ultimately, I found it in it's a Studio 2.
Oh, Topaz Studio 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So going through there, I found a lot of filters and I used it as a plug-in and it worked out very well.
Cool.
Yeah, nice.
So this one here is there will be another version of the car. But I took the picture of the car, and I had a friend of mine in mind when I took it. And then I went and I haven't done a whole lot of editing. And to be honest, even though we weren't working with layers, I really didn't know how to do layers. So I forced myself to learn, and I painted out the white paper that's on the windshield and the guy that's in the background. I leveled out the car. It turned out really well. He's extremely happy with it. Okay, here's the oil painting version.
Hmm.
And there's the car. You can see the paper's gone. The guy's gone in the background. And even though I tried some automated techniques, nothing was really working. So I had to go in there and blow it up quite large, and then use the clone tool to go along and sample areas and paint them back in as if they didn't exist.
Hmm.
And then there's the other download. So some of these, the resolution might come through kind of, yeah, this one turned out pretty good. So I went to Kensington with my wife this past Sunday, and was able to get a couple of good shots.
Mhm.
So that 70 to 200 lens definitely works out. I liked this one. I kind of like the two birds are having a squabble.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
I got the twins.
It's nice. There's a sense of story to those two images.
Yeah. So that's what I got for today.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Very nice.
All right. Guess I turn this back to you, Bob.
Mike, have you
Yeah.
tried a teleconverter on that lens?
I have not. I was going to buy one, and it
They're
was,
expensive.
yes, they are. And for what I was going to do, and I couldn't get one fast enough, and I was going to get a hold of you for the Grand Prix, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know
Hey,
that.
Bob,
Yeah,
along that line, I know you've got the Alpha One for the Sony.
yes.
You know, I play around, you know, because that thing has, I don't know, how many megapixels does that?
50.
50. Okay. So I've played around between using my like 200 to 600 lens,
Yep.
which, you know, I do for birds, or, you know, I live on a lake, so I'm zooming in on stuff. You know, we got an eagle that flies by. And, you know, it seems like when I use I've got a 2x teleconverter, not a 1.4 or whatever it is. You know, it almost seems better to me to just use the lens by itself without the teleconverter and just crop in with that camera versus, you know, keeping the megapixels of the sensor and using a 2x teleconverter. What are your thoughts on that? Because
Well, for starters, you're right. Where you can, you want to use that lens naked.
yeah,
And because of the fact it's a 6.3 lens, a 1.4 is maybe a judicious one to use. A 2x I'd be a little iffy about.
yeah, I don't like the 2x.
Now, when you get into, you know, the bigger glass, well, even if the 1 to 400 5.6 does a pretty good job with awful good job actually with either teleconverter. And of course, the 400 2.8 will work with either. The one thing I can tell you is I've got two of each teleconverters.
Yeah.
And one of them, I was having a hell of a time, and one of the teleconverters has got a flaw. I don't know if it's been dropped or whatever. So that's also an issue. But one of the problems you get into with a lens like that 2 to 600, it's a good lens, but you're frequently hand holding it with moving subjects. And it can be an issue that you're just not steady enough on the image, and you start to defeat what the camera's autofocus system can deal with.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just one of those things. Practice with it.
Oh, I do. And it's interesting because I've picked up on it. I always used to hold my camera, like this close,
Mhm.
but now I find that if I hold out by the outer edge of the telephoto, because I do a
The
lot of
hood.
hand hold, it actually, you're not moving as much,
Correct.
and that, so I've changed my technique a little bit in how I hold my lens when I'm doing a really long lens, because and I brace all the time off of whatever I can.
If
'Cause I
you're
do
shooting a
lot of shooting.
stationary thing, that's one issue to brace. But when you're shooting birds in flight, for example, that are moving,
Yeah.
the wobble factor can be a problem. And I'll tell you, I'll show you some pictures later, maybe, of some fireworks that we did this year.
Yeah.
But I was using a 135, but I was on my boat, and the boat was moving up and down rapidly, 2 to 3
Yeah.
feet. And so I was
Yeah.
having trouble nailing the shot at the right
Yeah.
points. So I put it at 30 frames a second,
Uh-huh.
and I was getting a handful of good keepers every second.
Yeah.
A lot of them that were bad just because of
Yeah.
that motion.
Yeah. Well, I know when I travel now, I've sort of switched. I'll take my, I do the wide angles, and then the 24 to 70, and then I'll take an 85 prime and the 100 to 400, and that way I'm only taking one big lens instead of, like the 70 to 200 plus a really super long lens.
The problem with lenses, the more you get, the less you know which one to take.
Yeah, well, no, but I tend to use them all. It's kind of
Yeah.
strange. It's always the debate: do I also take my drone?
Yeah, no, those glass, like the 85 is a great lens. I'm absolutely in love with the 135 1.8. That thing is just amazing.
Well, that's a great focal distance. Focal length.
Okay, where else are we going? We have any other pictures to show? I'll go over to my Flickr site and show just a few things, but they're nothing earth-shattering, but they are at least urban, a little bit on the urban side. See if I can find a way to get over there. Here it is. Okay. Let me try sharing this screen. And okay, can you see anything yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are just, I mean, if you want, we can go through these, but this was the air show. But let me start off with what we were just talking about, the long focal length. This is the 135, and I'm at the end on my boat at the end of Belle Isle at night. And what do we got here for? I'm at 1.8 wide open, 100th of a second at f3.5 and at ISO 1250. So they're moving around quite a bit, but still pretty sharp. You can see the individual vehicles on the bridge and stuff. But that's a really good lens for that. People tend not to remember that lens. Wrong direction. Another example, kind of the same kind of thing, just with a 135. And then there's another one. This one I thought was really interesting, the way that pattern went. And so I cropped in tight. I think I've got it on another one. I really like the way this one came out. There, I cropped in really tight on this one.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of pixels here, but kind of reminds me of an art piece. All right, so let me go back to what I was going to show, which is Urbany. I finally got the drone out, and went downtown and did some drone shots. So I guess this qualifies as urban landscape.
Mhm.
This one, I think I'm at about 400 feet. And you can see the tower on the left. You can see behind it the orange scaffolds from the Hudson building. And you can see all the way down to on the left corner, you can see the bridge at Belle Isle.
Nice.
So not bad for 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor. What's that? Oh, I was going to go the other way.
Which drone are you using?
That's the DJI 2S. And yeah, that's DJI 2S for all of these. That's at 5.4K, 10-bit 422. Of course, the Mavic 3 that's recently come out is the one I would really love to have. But that's $5,000 if you buy it in the full version. But that'll do ProRes RAW recording with an internal SSD in the drone. And everything about it's much improved. Anyway, I did my homework as far as where you can fly downtown. And so this is the first time I went out. And this is the Huntington Bank building. I didn't even, as often as I go down there, I didn't even know that building was being built. They've been working on it for 2.5 years and they just finished it a couple of weeks ago. But very interesting at night. And that's right down, well, the Fillmore's on the right here. And if you go a little farther right, you're going to be into the Fox Theater and Little Caesars World Headquarters. But just some night perspective shots. Again, first time's out. This one I'm not too high. I'm probably about 3 stories up, standing over across the street. You got to be careful because you can't fly over people with any sustained amount of time. But we caught this at Blue Hour. I was in a real big hurry for this because you can't fly near stadiums, and I'm near a stadium when there's a baseball game. So I had to kind of get my shots and get out of there before the crowd came out, because you also can't fly over people sustained. But this is what I really went down there for, is to shoot the Fox Theater sign. And
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, it came out nice.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it, and well done on the symmetry.
yeah, the building's off center, believe it or not. So that's,
Yeah, but still, the way your angles of the right and left side, you kept those angles pretty consistent. So that looks nice. That's well balanced.
so I go a little higher and gets a similar shot, but now I've got the rooftop sign. I'm up probably 400 feet here. And you can see the lighted walkway over the street between the Fox Theater and Little Caesars new headquarters. There we are with just a sign again. You can see the Ambassador Bridge in the background and Motor City Casino. But again, the camera seems to do an awfully good job as far as noise and stuff.
Yeah.
When it was still daylight, I went over and did the Rosa Parks. This is the book tower, and then the appendage units are part of the book tower. This back in here is the Book Cadillac Westin Hotel. And of course, you can see some of the other stuff. Another little shot. Again, you can see clear back to the Belle Isle Bridge back here.
These look so nice. Are you, what time of day, I'm trying to look at the shadows. So
it was late afternoon.
Late afternoon, yeah.
And I'm standing on the west side, so I've got direct sunlight on everything.
Yeah.
And I like to go down and do it some more with different perspectives. It's amazing the things you see here that you don't normally notice. For example, look in the lower left, and you see all of these courts and pools at different levels on some of the buildings.
Yeah, and gardens.
And gardens. And then over here on the lower right, here's a building across the street from the Book Cadillac that they're tearing down. They're like 3/4 done. There's a little different perspective out. Again, right here, I'm at 400 feet. That's as high as you can legally fly. And the book tower is several hundred feet higher, a couple hundred feet higher. And I'm standing on a street corner, catty corner from the Ren Center, and I'm on the sidewalk and had the drone going straight up from me. There was just no other way to do it. Oh, this is
Can you
just.
fly over the Rensen, Bob?
No, you can't, because the Rensen's 700 and some feet high.
Okay,
And so, but I am going to go do the Rensen at different times and get maybe halfway up so you can get some different perspectives.
mhm.
You do have to be concerned on a perspective level. Let me see if I can see it here. Well, for starters, I know where I was going to go with is on some of these, I'm pointing the camera at an angle down. And so I'm getting these images that are actually sloping away quite a bit. And I went into Lightroom and just straightened them up. And so
Yeah.
it took away that distortion. But you do have to worry about what height you are and whether your camera is actually at level. But I want to get out now and do a bunch more of these. That's pretty much it for anything that's urban landscape. Where am I going here? Which
A
direction?
lot of those look like they have the artography look to it, Bob.
And I really didn't tend to do that. I think on the 3 lighter brown ones, I might have softened those up with, what was that, Gary? Vintage 4?
Yeah,
I think I used the Vintage 4 preset, and then I reduced it quite a bit so it wasn't so pronounced. And just brief, well, here's a feeble attempt at artography at the air show. And I wasn't there long enough to wait for the people to be in the right position. Gary got some good shots. I was able to get some good flyover shots. And Kirk, for your benefit, these were done with the A1 and a 400-2.8 plus a 1.4 teleconverter.
Nice.
And they're all handheld. But these guys' planes were just gorgeous.
Super crisp.
And there they are again. This is a simulated refueling with a KC-135 tanker and 3 A-10 Warthogs. This is my favorite plane on the whole bunch. This is a Curtiss JN, and they nicknamed it the Jenny. It's 101 years old, this aircraft. And when Selfridge was first formed, this was the airplane that was stationed there and pre-World War I. And this was the Army Air Force's only real fighter plane in World War I. And these guys were being very cautious flying this thing around. Its top speed 65 miles an hour. But to be there over 100 years old. Notice the curves at the bottom here on the wings. The plane is difficult to land. And when he landed this plane, it dropped down and bumped the runway with these hoops.
Those are skid hoops, huh?
Skid hoops. Yeah.
Cool.
And this old World War II and Korean vintage. The famous T-33 jet, I like that one a lot. That's just such a classic look aircraft. There's an A-10 Warthog for close air support. I talked to the pilot that flew this quite a bit, and he flies it at 320 miles an hour, 100 feet off the ground.
Wow.
but it's also now fitted with laser guided weapons that he fires at 20,000 feet. This little critter out at the air show, it's a C-17. It weighs 250,000 pounds, and it'll haul 250,000 pounds of cargo.
Wow.
And it can take off on 1,500-foot runway almost straight up. It's a pretty big beast. And there's your F-22 Raptor. That's supposedly the best fighter plane in the world. And it's very interesting when you see all of the little fins and canards and things and different coatings that are all over the aircraft for stealth resistance. And it creates 70,000 pounds of thrust coming out of the back end of that thing.
Wow.
So anyway, that's all I've been shooting.
Yeah.
You know, when you were showing your Detroit pictures a couple of years ago, my wife and I were shooting off the top of a parking garage. And off in the distance, there was a tower with a rotating ball on it. The best way I can describe it is the Pepsi logo with the wave around going around it. Do you have any idea what building would have that on top of it?
No, maybe someone like Gary would know.
Was that the Penobscot?
Nothing recent.
Okay.
Let me
Oh.
get rid of this. And I got one more thing I wanted to show Gary earlier, and I didn't know if I could actually get it up, but we got a few minutes. Oh yeah, here we go. I doctored up my bug photography setup, and this is the inside of it. I use that 3/4 inch X-shaped metal aluminum tubing, and this is a meter square. And I put white foam board all inside, and I've got places to hang lights and fixtures, and you can put in rails, whether the electronic rail or the old bellows mechanism, and I can rig it up for the different cameras. I don't use any direct lighting on the bug, so I shoot it to the walls and let it fill the entire cavity.
Bob, you're not sharing your screen. Are
Pardon?
you showing us something right now? Because we don't see your screen.
Oh, hey, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to share it.
Yeah. So you got to go back over that.
Yeah, here we go. Let me try sharing this. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
So again, this is a meter square, the tubing here in the corners and this way. I've got it on an old light stand that I built, and I've got Really Right Stuff heavy brackets that go vertical and horizontal. And I've got an electronic rail here that I can drive to fire the camera and increment forward. So on some bugs, you might take as many as 500 shots and then concatenate them. This is an old Nikon bellows that you can put all kinds of lenses and stuff on it. And I can put either the A1 or a Nikon camera, or in this case, I've got the Fuji 100 megapixel medium format mount right here. So any of those can be used to take whatever degree of bug photo you want. I don't know if I can get to the next picture. Let's see. Library. Here you go. Here's a frontal shot. So electronic controller to the left. You can see that I've got all of the light material here, and I can control everything from here. So anyway, that's one thing I want to try and get back to, do a little more. I did a little last summer and then got waylaid time-wise, but there's just lots of things you can do for setups. I just thought I would show you guys some of the crazy crap I have.
Pretty elaborate.
Yeah, and you know, it's really simple to use. So that's the good thing about it. But, let's see, how do I unshare? New share? I just don't want to share at all. Help. There we go. Okay, I stop sharing. Screen share, no. Okay. There we go. Anyone else have anything for the night? Lou,
Tom,
you're
you can do
quiet.
anything?
I have a question. That
Sure.
vintage floor, is that on Topaz?
No,
Studio 2?
it's part of Photoshop and Lightroom.
Oh,
It's part of the ever-growing changes happening all the time. But there's a whole bunch of presets out there that they come standard with. So if you go into, correct me if I'm wrong here, Gary, but if you go into Camera Raw and off on the right, you can select like, say, black and white or color. But you can also, right, there's another little circle next to it where you can select presets. And they'll have camera presets or black and white presets or various other ones. And there's a group called Vintage, and it was number 4 that I used.
okay.
And Gary's used that on some of his artography-like pictures. He's the expert on it. He taught me how.
Okay. Thanks. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Tom, what have you been doing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Oh, just graphic stuff, with Photoshop, trying to work things out.
Lou's showing us a sign. He has no sound. Doesn't work.
Okay. Thanks, Lou. You say, I think I saw some new pictures in the last week or 2 or 3
Where?
on your sites.
Oh, they're there, but there's nothing to write home about.
How about we show your Flickr site? Because I think they're pretty cool.
Okay, here. I can get there. I've got it here.
Okay,
Oh, I got to go through all that sharing stuff and everything.
here, let me try and do it and see if I can, well,
Yeah,
how do I have to start that? I have to start by me being in, I have to start with a Flickr. And then I got to go over to following. And I never know which Tom Pinar to follow.
um,
You mean there's multiple Tom Pinars?
Yeah, there's 2.
yeah, and I talked to Flickr about it, and they just said, you got to learn to live with it, because they're kind of tied in with each other, but then again, they're not. And
Okay.
it's just a pain, really. I
mean-
want to delete. Pardon?
All right, is this the right one?
No, that's not it.
Okay, then I will go back. I said that like I know what I'm doing. That's the one I just had, I think.
Yeah, go on up. There you go.
There you go.
That's about it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
These are the
That's
things that he said, he just, they're just out there.
Oh,
Can you guys see this screen?
Mhm. Yes.
I think that's just gorgeous.
wow.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm getting tired of those.
You could have
Find
a
something different.
showing of those.
I'm ready. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The simplification program.
Yeah, it's actually from a photograph, someplace down in Detroit. I don't know where. But, just change. I got inspired by a Art Deco poster. It's just down in Ohio.
Just down in Ohio.
Let's see.
This is really a cool looking vintage photo.
Boom.
Yeah, that was my intention.
It's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about shadows lately. And last weekend, I went to a very interesting little place called Sfumato. Does anybody know that term in terms of shadow in Renaissance painting?
Hmm.
Okay, it's you probably know what chiaroscuro is, right?
Right?
Yeah, okay, but sfumato is not as known, and it's what Da Vinci used for hazy blending, using blending of colors. And so like the Mona Lisa is an example of sfumato. Well, there's this cool little shop in Detroit that is a fragrance shop by day and a cocktail bar by night. And they do these sophisticated cocktails and fragrances that are a blending of many things. And the whole design concept and everything they do has to do also with golden proportion, which you've got in this image. So it's all the shadowing and the blending in an artistic way and proportions. And so, you might want to just look that up.
Yeah.
SFUMATO. It was a wonderful experience. We went there for their, like little taster menu of their cocktails. But, I've been just learning about, shading and painting technique.
This one's got the central eye like an old Tucker.
I think it might have been a Duesenberg, actually.
Okay.
You can see
Oh, yeah, you can see the pipes.
Yeah, actually, I think those are cables to the lights or some shielded cable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's just playing around there. That
This is gorgeous.
another
Boy, these are great.
The last meeting last month, I guess it was, Linda was kind of she had some questions about high key photographs, and I've taken a few. And if you could just pop over to my albums, I got an album there that's just all high key stuff. I just thought maybe she might be here tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, so I just threw a bunch of high key stuff in there just to.
Oh, that's nicely done.
Yeah.
Really good texture in here.
Well, it was actually going to go to the trash as a color shot. It just looked horrible. I find that the last resort is go high key if you don't have a good sky so.
Beautiful detail in all these leaves and branches.
Yeah, it's up on Lake George Road up near Addison Oaks.
Nice. Good thought.
Yeah, that's actually on Oakland University Golf Course.
So now, are you just taking this as a normal shot on a gray day?
Yeah.
Or are you doing it with the blue sky and then removing the blue? And
No, gray is better for this. Yeah, I'm finding I can't handle blue skies too well.
you do pretty good with gray.
Must be a
Yeah.
photographer.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that sense of proportion and
The
shoving it
negatives.
off to the side.
Thanks. And
Wow, you really nailed that. That looks 3D on that trunk.
yeah, well,
Mhm.
that's right there at the clubhouse on Oakland University Golf Course. And I just stretched it vertically. I was just kind of messing around with it, and it's about twice as high, or its aspect ratio is about 2-to-1 or so.
Very cool. It makes it very Asian.
Yeah.
art.
Well, that was the idea. I've seen some
Yeah.
Chinese and Japanese prints that
Yeah,
kind of look like that a little bit. So
yeah.
Well, one of the things that I have as a pet peeve about people portraiture is that a number of people think flat lighting is appealing. And that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to take the 2D image and make it look 3D by shading and side lighting. This does it.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Oh, wow.
So I got that, I think it's in there too. So that's just,
That previous one was 2 layers.
it could be, no, it might, no, I don't think I used a layer on that. I don't think so. Maybe I did. I flattened them out anyhow, that one.
So this
Yeah.
one's one you simplified?
Yeah, that's, actually, I think I used the threshold.
Hmm,
Oh, that's a good one.
That particular adjustment layer.
yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
never thought of doing that.
Oh, yeah. Threshold works pretty good, but it gets that sort of, see those shadows on that flat surface? They're kind of grainy looking there. But I thought, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. It's okay. It's,
Sure.
you know, and I also, that's by Z Park there. But this one here, yeah, I used what is it? The cutout filter. And you can tell by that foliage in the foreground there. See how it's kind of sharp there?
Yeah,
So that cuts everything down nice and simple. You can change the edge detail and that. Then I think I ended up with that's
this is in the belt?
That's down Z
Place.
Park there.
Yeah, that's the belt, they call it.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just that wasn't such a great color shot. So, you know, before it goes in the trash, I just use my last resort tactic on that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, who was that gal we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Olga Karlovic.
Korlavitz. Yeah.
You got it figured out.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
That's great.
How did you get all the blur? Was some of that camera blur or?
It's all camera blur. Yeah.
So you're just wiggling the camera?
I'm just shooting it at about 15th of a second, something like that. And I'm just walking around and just kind of letting it do its thing. Yeah.
Okay. Same thing here.
Yeah.
And you shot that one at 1/4 of a second.
Yeah. Angular movement. Yeah.
And that, I don't know. That's just, it's all softened up and everything.
But that had to be post.
Yeah, very much so. Just back there's Gary at the Art Institute.
I remember when you took that.
It's almost like he's emanating brain waves out there, you know,
Yeah,
communicating.
the Matrix.
That can't be it.
Was in a street musician in Holland, Michigan.
There's an awful lot of photos here I haven't seen. I thought I was staying on top of your stuff.
That's cool. Great perspective.
Yeah, that's a great place. That's a Broad Museum in Lansing.
Oh,
It's
really?
really interesting place. Yeah. I don't think the exhibits are very interesting, but boy, the building itself sure is.
The architecture of it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all stainless steel panels and yeah, it's really quite the building. This is it's up in Owasso. So that one there is at Oakland University,
Oh, okay.
right by the engineering building,
Yep.
early in the morning.
Love it.
So, you know, I kind of think high key it's pretty neat, you know.
It works
I think
here
everybody ought
pretty
to try
well.
it.
You give me so much information, inspiration, and then I forget and don't do it. Now, what in the world did you do to this one to make it look like that?
I have to think back. Well, I do everything almost in camera raw. So I went over there and just ran the sliders off to the limits left and right.
Yeah, you crushed the blacks.
Yeah. mhm.
Yeah.
And
So you just push the histogram towards the ends.
yeah, it's not hard. Just all you gotta do is grab a hold of that slider and just push it around. And well, there's a lot of sliders, but yeah, there's that the one that had that blur on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is well done.
Yeah.
Another interesting shot.
Yeah.
And it's
You've given me something to play with here, man.
mhm.
This is beautiful.
Give it a try.
Yeah,
It's
for
great.
sure.
It's fun. Yeah, you can save a lot of pictures that way too. That
I think
picture
that-
with the
Oh,
recorders.
This is nicely done.
I find that's true
Okay.
with red photographs, switching them to black and white. They just like all of a sudden they're a good image.
Down at the ice rink down.
Blurry photos, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you shot.
I'm not
that
afraid of blurry photos.
1/10 of a second.
Hell no.
No, they're beautiful.
Hey.
Oh, that one's really nice. I assume you added the colors.
No, that's I probably saturated it a little more.
Yeah, sure.
That's an 1/8 of a second.
Mhm.
Nicely done.
Wow.
You know, these hot days, I'm gonna have to start staying inside and playing with some of this. So,
I kind of like high key. It's I think it's pretty interesting. It's easy to do. It really is. It's like easy as falling off a log, they say.
all right.
Right.
Back to the albums.
hey, Kirk, what was the name of their bar again? Is it Castalia?
Yeah, well, that's the evening name.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the other one, that's the cocktail lounge. And you get like 8 cocktails that are all very different, and they're served with a little paper strip that's a fragrance. And they explain that all to you. It's very, I'm incredibly impressed, and it's very sophisticated. And then the fragrance shop is called Sfumato, Sfumato, and that's this grading shading technique, which goes along with they do. They take all these things and they shade them and grade them. It's very cool.
Excellent.
Wow.
Fun.
Okay. Anybody else got anything you want to cover? Any questions you want to ask anybody? If not, we'll call it an early night. And I'll post the recording.
Thank you so much. This was, I really, this is very valuable. This was really educational tonight. So thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye,
thanks.
Lou.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good
Need to
evening.
get out.
Hey, I heard you.
We can hear you now.
You can?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean I've been quiet all this time and you guys could hear me?
it was a plot.
All right, guys. Good night.
Night.
Good night, all.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.